Hi, my name is Clay Blair. I own Boulevard Recording and Boulevard Recording Academy in Hollywood, California. So I've been teaching some mixing classes, and occasionally I get asked a question about low end. Seems a lot of guys, especially guys at home, are having trouble with bass guitar and drums, bass synth drums, that kind of thing. Well, it's not a surprise. Even the veteran engineers still struggle with bass. So I want to start a series of videos just kind of going through that. I'm going to start with bass DI versus bass DI. That's where you just have a bass DI. Who would have thought? Which a lot of us do if we're at home. And that's okay. There's a lot of great options out there like amp sims. You could reamp it at home even. But I'm going to do one up from that. I'm just going to use some stuff in the box that doesn't include an amp sim. So I recorded this song a while back. It's just a bass DI. It's a Hofner bass, which is probably cheating if you ask any bass player that has a few basses, because the Hofner is super even. The notes are even when you go up the neck. It's not as it's a lot more forgiving than, say, a P bass. So I probably should do a video with a P bass as well, because this is it. I'm just going to play it for you. It sounds great as it is, nothing on it. So it gets a little lost on a note or two. I recorded it definitely with some compression. What I had on here earlier was this Maggie hue, which I love. So this is a UAD product. This is actually a analog piece of gear. It's fantastic. So really quickly, the best things about this EQ are the high end and the low end. So look at this. So we got this, it's called air gain even. How funny is that? So you got everything from 2.5, and this is, a shelf boost, all the way up to 40 kilohertz, which, yes, you can hear it. It's especially great on a vocal that you've tried every EQ and you just can't get the right kind of sparkle on the top of the vocal. So even this 40 kilohertz, believe it or not, it's pretty phenomenal. The high end's great. The low end's great too. You got this sub knob, which is pretty awesome. And then you also have 40 hertz, which is, I don't know where sub is boosting, but I'm assuming it's some sort of sub-harmonic frequency booster. So anyway, what am I doing here? So I'm adding a little 2.5. That's kind of the pick noise, I guess. It's nice. Let's solo it and just listen with and without. I'm also adding some 40, taking out a little bit of 650, not that much, just like a dB, just to kind of define it slightly. Adding some sub, adding some 40, not a ton, but let's check it out with and without. Okay, that's cool. It's cool with it. I like it with it. So I'm going to show you something else. So this is a brand new plugin that I am crazy about. It's Greg Wells. He worked with Acoustica Audio and made this great BA6A type plugin, and I am totally in love with it. It's one of my favorite vocal compressors right now, and I can't find much of anything it's not good on either. It's great on bass, so let's check it out. Let's go to a different section. It's not super fast. It's an old tube Very type compressor, so it's... I've been on a slower attack. Let's see what happens when we kind of put the attack in the medium. Back to slow. So you kind of lose that pick attack a bit. It kind of crunches it, and I love the pick sound. On some basses, it's definitely better to have a faster attack, especially if it's like with fingers or something less percussive. But on a bass where the pick part is something that's accentuated, and I definitely accentuated it here with adding a little bit of 2.5. Keep your attack slow. So let's listen to this in the mix. Sounds good. Let's listen to it without the mix. So it sounds good, but you can definitely hear the kick drum poking through the bass now. They don't sound kind of married in this section. So if you just notice how it just seems much more married with the kick drum. Let's go to the chorus here. So let's check this out. So the chorus is cool, but it's kind of unimpressive. It's just kind of sitting there. It's also played a lot lower on the neck. But again, I kind of hear that kick drum poking through. Not that that's a bad thing, but you kind of want to stay consistent. So I think you could automate it. That's sure. That's probably the easy way to do it. But I want to take it one further and do this. So let's duplicate this bass DI. Active playlist. No inserts, please. Yes, insert after the track. So let's do this. So let's mute this bass DI for now, and this is the duplicate. So this is the verse going into the chorus here, kind of a pre-chorus, I guess. Everybody should have this if you have Pro Tools. This is the easiest plugin to start with on bass, trust me. But I'm going to show you a few tricks. The SansAmp. Any Chad Blake fans out there will know that this is his secret weapon. I think nowadays he actually uses the Decapitator by Sound Toys for everything, but he used these for a long time. He used the hardware versions. So there's a great preset, and I'm not the biggest preset guy, especially with things like vocals or drums. I generally don't ever use presets. But with the SansAmp, it's nice because it's not always as logical dialing something in with this thing when it comes to a bass or a guitar. So I go up to crunchy bass, which I dig. Let's solo this, and we'll start with this. Okay. So it's a bit flabby. It sounds nice. It sounds big and woofy, but it's a little flabby. So when I think of the SansAmp, I don't really think of a distortion box. What I think of it as, and what you should think of it as, is an EQ with distortion. So buzz, it's kind of your bass. Punch, it's kind of your low mid. Crunch is mid-rangey, and drive is kind of high mid-rangey. So let's check. Let's adjust this, and then this low here. This is a high pass filter, and the high is a low pass filter. So let's check this out, and let's pull this buzz back a little bit. Let's pull the punch back too a little bit. Maybe give it crunch, a little mid-range there. Hear that? A little drive. Let's pull this preamp back a little. Maybe turn the level up some. So that's not bad. Let's listen to this in context in the chorus. Turn it up. Let's try it again. Okay, so you just heard how that sits. Now let's go back to our original bass. That sounded great in the verses, but in the choruses, the kick drum definitely poked through a lot more. It didn't seem like it was as locked together. So let's check this out again. Versus. So it just hugs it, right? Okay, so this is what we'll do. I like both sounds. I love the DI sound in the verses, but in this song, I think it's too extreme to actually take just a DI for the verse and then this SansAmp DI for the choruses. So I think I'm going to mix it up. So what I want to do is I want to kind of focus the verses around this sound. So what we're going to do is we're going to do that, and we're going to dial in the SansAmp. So let's check this out. Definitely holds its own. Now let's go to the chorus and see what happens. It's better. It wasn't as good as the SansAmp, I think, on its own, but it's been turned down a lot. So why don't we do this? Why don't we get out of grid mode and go to slip and do a little automation. So let's do this. So that's the first note of the chorus. Let's just do this. Let's give this a little boost up here. Let's take him up. Maybe the inverse, kind of in the 8 neighborhood, and let's take this guy down to maybe like the 12.8 neighborhood. I need to clean those up, but let's just see if this is... That's better. Let's turn this up even more. Let's do this even more. So let's take this guy up to 7 and see what happens. It's a little much, but I like that sound a lot. I think it's even. I think this transition is pretty good too. It feels married to the kick. The kick doesn't seem to poke out too much other than my bad timing. And then you go back to the verse up here. And of course we would automate it back to our original level. So that was a video on bass DI versus bass DI. Now you kind of know what it means. Feel free to comment below, ask questions. I'll do my best to answer them if you have questions about mixing low end. Also, I'm going to be making more videos, so the next video I will probably end up doing a bass DI and an amp. So you guys can kind of understand that relationship and where it applies. Thanks for watching. Links below to the plugins mentioned, and please visit boulevardrecordingacademy.com and come to one of our classes. Thanks.